Have you ever sat in a maths test and suddenly your mind goes blank? Or followed everything in class, then got home and had no idea where to start? You're not the only one. Welcome to the Mathematics Academy, where maths makes sense and learning sticks. In today's episode, Peter is diving into factor trees and prime factorisation, breaking numbers down to reveal their DNA, their most basic building blocks. And in this episode, and the ones that follow, you'll see why this really matters. But before we get into the maths, Steve is going to challenge your brain. So Steve, what are you going to do to us?
Thanks, Jane. Today I'm going to test everyone's memory using something called an N-back test. N-back tests are used by neuroscientists to measure and train working memory and attention. The setup is simple. I'll show you a sequence of numbers. Each number will be visible for a second, then disappear. Your job is to remember the most recent numbers. I'll start by demonstrating a one-back test. Watch the screen. Okay, hopefully you noticed that the number 5 occurred twice in a row. Here's the complete set of numbers. You will notice that a couple of numbers were repeated, but the 5 was repeated immediately.
Okay, so one back means the repetition occurs immediately.
That's right, Jane.
So for a two back, the repeated number will be interrupted by another number?
Correct. So here's an example of a 2-back.
Okay, that was a bit harder. Was the answer to the two-back challenge a 4?
Yes, it was. Let's see the sequence of numbers. Notice that when the 4 was displayed, it was repeated 2 numbers later. So we record our answer as 4. Now it's time to test everyone's memory. We'll start again with a one-back test. Hopefully you identified the answer as 2 for this one-back test. Now let's go for the two-back test. The answer for our two-back test was 3. Now get ready for the three-back test.
Whoa, okay, that got hard fast.
You're right, Jane, and there's a reason it suddenly feels harder. We're starting to overload part of the brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Big name, I know. It helps us hold information in the mind and constantly update it. Jane, are you ready for a 4-back test?
I struggled with the 3-back. Are there any tricks to make it easier?
Actually, yes, there is. Grab a pen and paper. This time I'm going to let you write the numbers down.
Hang on, writing it down? That feels a bit like cheating.
Or smart thinking. Let's find out. How did you go, Jane?
It was a little challenging keeping up with the numbers. I was concentrating hard on watching and writing, so I waited until the test was over to write down my answer. Was the answer 3?
Yes, it was.
So what should we take away from today's neuroscience lesson?
Great question. When we try to juggle too many things at once, our brain gets overloaded.
So that stressed feeling is real.
Exactly. We call it cognitive overload. It is exhausting and often leads to mistakes. When we are trying to solve problems in maths, taking the time to write each step down helps us offload our thinking. Our brain spends less energy remembering and more on reasoning.
So, knowing how our brain works can help make the maths easier?
Precisely, Jane.
Okay, now it's over to you, Peter. What has all this got to do with factors and factor trees?
Thanks, Jane. Steve just showed us something really important. Writing things down can actually help you think. So let's see what this looks like in maths. Suppose we want to find the prime factors of 60. We could start guessing prime numbers one at a time, but that can get messy. Instead, we can use a factor tree. We start with 60 at the top. The first fork in the tree can be any factor pair of 60.
I know that 6 times 10 equals 60. Can I use the 6 and 10?
Of course. Now we have two easier problems. Do you know any factor pairs of 6?
2 times 3.
Correct. Now look across to the other branch. We need factors of 10.
5 times 2.
Well done. Our factor tree is complete. Every branch ends in a prime number. We can say that the prime factorisation of 60 is 2 times 3 times 5 times 2. If we write these in ascending order, we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Since the 2 has been repeated, mathematicians use an index or exponent, in this case 2 squared. So the prime factorisation becomes 2 squared times 3 times 5.
Hang on, what if I'd picked 5 times 12 instead? Would we still get the same result?
Let's find out. Since the 5 is prime, we can't reduce it any further. But I will continue this branch anyway. You'll see why later in the video. The 12 can become 4 times 3. We can reduce the 4 since it's not prime. So our final row becomes 5 times 2 times 2 times 3. If we write these in ascending order, we get the same result as before. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, or 2 squared times 3 times 5.
Okay, what if I started with 4 times 15?
Excellent. Let's see.
So, it doesn't matter what factor pair I start with. The result will always be the same?
That's right.
Will any other number share this prime factorization?
No.
So, the prime factorization uniquely identifies the original number, just like a fingerprint.
Exactly. That's why I like to refer to the prime factorisation of a number as its DNA, its unique identity. But it goes a lot further than that. The prime factorisation can be used to determine all the factors for that number, or the quantity of factors, how it relates to other numbers such as the highest common factor or lowest common multiple. It helps us work with fractions and something called surds, and so much more.
Are you going to cover any of these other areas today?
Not today. We cover them in our later episodes.
Terrific. I do have a question about the factor trees we covered so far. Can you explain why it is important to continue extending branches, like the 5 in the earlier factor tree?
Of course. Here's what the factor tree looked like. We can check our working out on each row by multiplying all the numbers in that row. We always end up with the original quantity. Also, when we get to the bottom row, we don't have to go searching for all the other prime factors hidden further up in the tree. The whole idea of factor trees is to make things easier, not harder.
Can you do another factor tree, say 28?
28 is a great choice. Or should I say a perfect choice. The first factor pair that springs to mind is 4 times 7. So the next line in our factor tree becomes 2 times 2 times 7. Each of these is prime. So the prime factorisation becomes 2 squared times 7. Now let's try the prime factorisation of 280. Okay, 280 might sound scary, but once we start writing things down, you'll see it's quite easy. 280 is equal to 28 times 10. But we just did the factor tree for 28, so we can drop that right here. The 10 becomes 2 times 5. Both of these are prime, so we can just extend these factors down and we're done. The prime factorisation of 280 is equal to 2 times 2 times 7 times 2 times 5, which we can also write as 2 cubed times 5 times 7.
Wow, I thought the prime factorization of 280 was going to take a while, but writing down each step made it really easy.
It sure does.
Is there a way of checking the answer, say with a calculator?
Yes, there is. We could use the calculator to check the product of the prime factors and see that we arrive back at the original number. I'm using Casio's FX8200 model. If I have a number such as 280, pressing execute changes the status of that number from input to output. Now I can select the format that I want it to appear in. So press the format key and press prime factor. And there it is. You'll notice that the calculator expresses the prime factorisation concisely by using index notation where appropriate.
If the calculator can produce the prime factors so easily, why do I need to draw the factor tree?
The calculator gives you the answer. The factor tree, on the other hand, shows you the reasoning.
So, when should students use their calculator?
There are many reasons why you might use a calculator rather than drawing up a factor tree. For example, for really large numbers, you might use the calculator. Think of it this way. I can choose to walk to the shops, but I'm not about to walk from Melbourne to Sydney, particularly if my goal is to simply go and watch a football game.
There's the siren!
Thanks, Peter. What should students do now they have seen how factor trees work?
Retrieval practice. We are covering retrieval practice later in this series and why it is so important. In the meantime, there's a link to the factor tree worksheet in the description below.
Thanks, Peter. And for those of you that didn't appreciate Peter's maths joke earlier, about 28 being a perfect number, check out Adam Spencer's Big Book of Numbers. There's a link in the description below. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Be sure to check out our next episode where we see how factor trees and prime factors can help identify all the factors for a given number, and a clue on how to determine the quantity of factors for any number without even writing them all down. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our channel.